opinions and views expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? But can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
And hello, everybody. Welcome inside a Wednesday episode of Running Point on ysnlive.com. Brought to you, as always, by our good friends up in that top right-hand corner of the screen. You can see it in Gary's box, Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. They go the extra mile for you, so you don't have to. We have a full show here today, Wrestling Wednesday, episode 11. And, man, we have Gary Altizer, our wrestling guru, and the head coach of the Wellsville Tigers. Scotty Mincher down there in the bottom right box. And then the voice of live wrestling on YSN this season, Chris Colucci, joining us for the first time on Wrestling Wednesday. Chris, it took you 11 episodes, but we finally got you on, buddy.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Wrestling's been taking off, and I love it. And, first year out of high school, and I got to do something to stay in the sport of wrestling.
Before we narrow it down, like the recap of the recent wrestling that you've done, let's just go over what's it been like calling wrestling all year and to be able to put so many great athletes, so many great tournaments live on the airways at YSN.
So just going into this year was my goal to get more wrestling on the network because wrestling's kind of taken a back seat. A lot of people say I don't really agree with, but wrestling's taken a back seat to other sports, and I just want to get it, known and out there, and more kids to go out there and do it, and more kids to go support their classmates, support their fellow students, support their fellow student athletes, and go out there and support them while they wrestle on the mat. It's just such a fun sport to be around, and once you learn it and understand it, it's an amazing sport.
Those people that say maybe it's taking a back seat, I just want to say no other sport has a half an hour long segment on a talk show every week. So wrestling got that to its belt. Chris, you have had a couple of good ones of late. West Branch Salem last week, Canfield as well, they wrestled. And then last night, Liberty and Howland. Just recap the recent wrestling that you've been to and some of the things that you've seen.
Yeah, so last night I was at Howland. It was their senior night. Me and one of Howland's senior wrestlers, Adam Heckman, we did a lot of wrestling together when I was in high school. We wrestled for a club called Scrapyard, and I kind of made a promise to him that I'd go out and I'd support him, and I'd call one of his matches, a senior night match at home, and it was a very good match. It was quick. It was only an hour long. So if you know anything about wrestling, that's very uncommon for something to be an hour long, but it was good. Last night, Howland got the win over Liberty, very commanding lead. And then last week, I probably called the two craziest sporting events I've ever been at in my high school career, YSN career. It was absolutely insane. The first night of wrestling, it was, I think it was Wednesday night. It was Fitch and Canfield wrestled each other. Canfield traveled over to Austintown. Crazy match, very crazy match. They started at 113 and got one all the way up to heavyweight. Coach Bird from Austintown did a little trickery in his lineup and bumped Marky Stankorb, one of the better wrestlers in our area, from 215 to heavyweight to wrestle another one of the better wrestlers in the area, Vince Luce from Canfield at heavyweight. Marky's given up 60 pounds to bump up and wrestle, and he got the job done with a victory of 3-2 to seal the deal. 106 was still to come, but it was, the points were too far away for Canfield to come back. I'm very proud of Marky and how well he did, and, giving up 60 pounds and getting that takedown in the crucial third period that he needed to get. And then the following night, it was the craziest match I've ever been at. High school, college, you name it. It was the craziest match ever with the atmosphere of students and fans. Excuse me. It was Salem welcoming West Branch, and if you know anything about that rivalry, they hate each other. They do not like each other. It's always with football, basketball, wrestling, anything. It's very fun to see. And Salem's probably had about, I'm not even exaggerating, 70 students in a student section. Coach Johnson from the football team made it mandatory for all his football players to go to that, and it was a packed house. I won't go into details, but at least 10 police officers were there for crowd control and making sure everything ran smoothly. It was atmosphere like no other that I've been at. They had a spotlight over the mat. Salem won that pretty handily. But yeah, just a lot of good wrestling these last few weeks, and that's what gets you better leading coming in this near future, because sectionals, districts, and state are right around the corner. I think we're 23 days from state, I think, on the countdown.
I love that Ron John made it a mandatory. Like, you are going to support your wrestling team for the football team. That's awesome. I wish more coaches in the athletic departments would make that. Hey, like, if you're your basketball coach, it's going to be mandatory that you go to this amount of your other basketball teams games or whatever it may be. That's just athletes supporting athletes, in a school system. Nothing better. Chris, you know that. You've been a part of the student sections at South.
Yeah.
Athletes supporting athletes. Nothing better than that. Gary, you have some stuff to recap. You had the Buck Bailey tournament down there at Wellsville. You were able to play the gracious host to 16 teams. How'd that go?
It went really well. We had a great turnout of teams. We had a great turnout of fans. There was a lot of people in the stands. We ran straight through. We didn't take any breaks. So we still got out at a decent time, which I know everybody loves. We got out there by like 5 or 5:30. And teams from all over the place. We had a team from downstate West Virginia and Cameron, which is almost a 2-hour drive from Wellsville. And we also had Akron North, which is the same. It's a hour and a half, 4 hour and 45 minutes in the other direction. So we had almost 3 hours of highway in between the two furthest schools that met in the middle there in Wellsville. And it turned out to be a really good tournament. There were some really good matches there. There was state ranked kids there. And there were a lot of new faces, which I like to see. Some teams that we haven't seen or haven't seen much of came. Some familiar faces came. Some people who have graduated from around the area who now are head coaches in other places brought their teams. So it was a good time. It was a good day. We moved this 2 weeks further up in the schedule into February because the date we had clashed with the EOWL. It clashed with a couple of other local tournaments here, and that's really worked out well for us.
Who were some standouts in this Buck Bailey tournament? Who won it? Who were some wrestlers that really showed up and showed out?
Southern won it. Buckeye Local came in second place. Cameron in third. They were all pretty tight race there. A wrestler by the name of Elijah Gervins from Akron North High School won the MVP. He also set the school's record for all-time wins and all-time pins. So he came. He had a good day. His teammates talk about a team full of guys screaming for every match and every wrestler when they went out there. That's a great atmosphere that Coach Reed has going on there with the Vikings at Akron North. And Elijah was able to get his win in the finals was his win to set the school record.
One more recap from the weekend, then we have to get over. The MVAC championships happened down in Waterloo and Atwater, and Garfield came away with that. Gary, you predicted that. I don't think it was really much of a stretch to say Garfield was the favorites in the MVAC. Of course, Keegan Sell, the MVP down there. Chris and Gary, I'm going to ask you both. You both know that Garfield wrestling program pretty dang well. You both know Keegan Sell pretty dang well, too. What makes that so special? Chris, we'll start with you.
I just think it's the winning tradition. There's two young freshmen in that program with the last name of Sell and Andell again. Hunter Andell and Keegan Sell both winning state last year. It's just a winning culture, a program that's turning kind of into a dynasty and turning into a legit team. One of the premier teams in the area is like, oh, Garrettsville's here. Okay, we got to be on our A game when we're at this tournament. But it's just Coach Andell out there has done really well. Very proud of what he's accomplished over the years, and they've always been really cool with us in South Range. When we were down at state, we needed a practice. They were right there with Keegan and Hunter and our middleweights and me, and just getting us a practice before state, and just a little roll around and get the jitters out and everything before. And just great successful team they have.
Yeah, when you get two kids that win a state title in the same year, there has to be a lot of buzz in the hallways. They've been doing well the last 5 years, 6 years or so. And I think that once it's just like anything else, once winning cures everything, and winning drives interest in everything. So the interest is there, the success is there, the foundation is there. It's no surprise that they're continuing to win. And with younger guys coming up now that are going to have to take the reins over once these seniors from last year, this year are gone, you always have to replenish, you have to reload. And to do that, you have to have a good foundation. I think that they have that going on there.
What I find so impressive is last year they win state, and it was the first time that Garfield brought a state championship back to their school. But there was never even once let the foot off the gas pedal or get satisfied with winning one state championship. And I like that Chris used the word dynasty, because that's what it takes to build that kind of program that's going to be winning consistently. You can't be satisfied with one. You got to stay hungry. We've seen that from Garfield this year. They're not satisfied with winning the first state championship in program history. They're coming right back for more.
You have to be hungry. You can't settle, because now you've proven to everybody that you are the man, and you've got a target on your back. So everybody's going to be coming from you. What would be, outside in the regular season, what would be the best win you could have as an individual? Well, you beat a state champ. So now you're going to get everybody's best. Nobody's got anything to lose. They got nothing to lose wrestling a state champ. They only have something to gain. So you have to keep your mind sharp. You have to be on alert, and you can't take any matches off. I don't think that's happening at all with Keegan Sell and that program. And I'm sure that he's out. He knows all of this, and he's just he's probably just hit another level. Knowing to win one is special. To repeat is not only special, but about as rare as it comes.
We'll take a step into the preview section of the Wrestling Wednesday, because we have the comment section that's driving us there. Big matchup tonight. Nick Bowser from Hubbard, Masden from Alliance. Chris, what do you think about this matchup?
So I've been getting texts all day about this, thinking what my opinion is. Nick Bowser, I mean, he's just been lighting it up for Hubbard. He won EOWL. He's been doing really good. Aiden Masden from Alliance, coming off an ACL tear. He bumped up a weight class from last year from 215 to heavyweight. Masden, another kid, when it came down to states, me and him, we were drilling. We were in different divisions. We weren't going to see each other. So it was one of those things. It was all right to, wrestle each other, practice, get ready for state. It's going to be a battle. It's going to be a dogfight. Who's got the bigger dog in him? Who wants to come out with the win? I'm going to be curious. I wish we got it on the network tonight, but cannot, unfortunately. It's going to be a good match. I don't know. It's going to be really good. I'm going to be interested to see, and I'll be waiting to get texts on my phone.
We had Nick Bowser on the show. He was one of our first guests in season 3 here this year. Love that kid, man. Love the swagger he brings to that Hubbard program, and like taking it to new heights this year. I mean, I know he was disappointed with the injury in state last year, and he made that known right away. Like, the lights were not too big. He was dealing with injuries. He battled through it, got through state, and now this year he's trying to prove something. Like, hey, I'm the best heavyweight in the dang area, and it feels like he's been there for 6 years. The dominance he's been having at Hubbard.
I honestly feel like he's hitting his stride right at the perfect time. You talk about NFL teams hitting their stride. I mean, look at the Chiefs. They hit their stride right into, going into the playoffs and into the postseason and winning the Super Bowl. But this is wrestling. But Nick Bowser lost to Vince Luce, I talked about earlier, from Canfield earlier on in the season in that EOWL, beat him in the semifinals. And then in the finals, beat the number 1 ranked kid in Division III, defending state runner-up, Dallas McCracken. So he's been wrestling at the top of his game all year. Proud for Nick. It's going to be a great match tonight.
Another big one happening tonight as well. Jackson Milton and Waterloo are both going to United. That should be a really fun try down there in Hanoverton. What do you think about that, Gary? A lot of teams you're really familiar with.
Yeah, United feels a full team. We've talked about this a million times, how important that is with a dual match, especially in the small school division, Division 3. So they're going to send a kid out at every single weight class. I think Jackson Milton is really close to having a full team, and they've been doing well this season. That'll probably be a pretty good duel. I don't think Waterloo fills as many weight classes, but the weight classes they do fill, they're all quality kids. They've all got a lot of experience. They've been on the mat for a long time. And they're going to come out and fight. And I know Coach John there is not going to roll over for anybody. Those will be 3 fun duels to watch. You're probably going to see some upsets and some really close matches in those duels.
Of course, United has Dallas McCracken, who is one of the most feared dudes in the whole area. I mean, he's been having a heck of a career. Chris, let's talk about Jackson Mountain. I want you to talk about Jackson Mountain, the small school program that is just built, and every year they're getting better and better and better. What do you think it takes to just continuously go brick by brick for a program like that?
It's going to start at the youth program. My old head coach, Coach Markulin, he started at the youth program and worked his way up all the way to high school. And I mean, the rest is history, what he did there at South Range. But it's got to start you got to have someone in the youth, and you just got to go work up the whole way. You got to have some, just coach some studs up the whole way up and do your thing. And you got to get lucky. I mean, I'm not going to beat around the bush. You got to get lucky. You just got to, some things got to fall your way. A coin toss. I mean, that's the huge thing that helped us at South Range is a coin toss. We don't win a coin toss. I don't think we win a state championship. I'm going to say it straight out. But a lot of things got to go your way, and but a lot of things it's going to take a time. You're going to take some lumps over time, but you got to go back to the youth program, start out fresh if something's not going right. At the high school level, go start out fresh, get a whole new program rolling, and get up there. With that being said, they did that. They're at one of the better small schools in our area at Jackson Milton. They got a lot of good kids, Jaden Scott, the McDevitt brothers, and I think one of them just graduated, but they got some good kids over there in Jackson Milton.
Yeah, Owen McDevitt, I graduated last year, and now it's like the family just keeps coming back, and just like the Cells and the Endells, it's like, hey, you're not done. You had another one coming right out of the ranks. Chris, you run our social media page for Ysn Wrestling. I don't want to ruin the mystique. If it wasn't out there, it's this guy doing it down there, doing all the work, getting all these wrestlers highlighted on Ysn's Wrestling Instagram page. What's that been like this year to be able to gather a lot of these 100 wins, 100 career wins, and just be able to shine a light on all the area wrestling?
Well, thanks to you, Anthony, for getting me a lot of those pictures. It's different this year, running a social media, learning more of a social media aspect, getting pictures for our countdown. It's going to be, I want to do, there's a lot more I want to do. There's yearly awards I want to get into this year. Gary and I will talk about that, and other guys that have helped me calling matches and getting those awards out. It's something fun. I wanted to do a countdown to state, and I did that where I think we're on day 23, and I think I'm going to do the last 10 days of all state champs. So that'll be fun, something interesting to do. It's exciting. It's something new to do. It's not, looking at the same stuff all the time. It's something just, attention to wrestling. It's just not, everything that gets mixed in there. It's just wrestling, and wrestling fans can go on there and see what's going on, see who got their 100th win, who's spotlighted today on the countdown, and X, Y, and Z.
All right, who is spotlighted on today's countdown? Who got the nod?
The nod today was Devin Phillips, the 190 pounder from Austintown Fitch Falcons. Had a big pin last week against Canfield. The 190 Phillips got the pin, and then the 215. I forget his last name, but his first name starts. He's Cameron. I forget his last name. He got actually put in a 215, and Marky got put up to heavyweight. Those 3 matches were crucial in Austintown Fitch's key success to win. And Phillips also won the Joshua Hetner Memorial Tournament the week before EOWL. A pretty big win, pretty big tournament to win.
Scotty, I want to bring you in the conversation real quick. Because I know something's on your mind. You've been salivating, asking these guys something. What's on your wrestling mind today? What do you want these guys to answer?
Yeah, so I just wanted to know, I guess, first from you, Chris, like what has helped you most, and kind of what's the number one thing that has helped you appreciate wrestling more now that you're done with high school and you could take a step back and you're a big face here at YSN, but what's one thing I know you gotta miss the high school part of it, but what's one thing that you kind of cherish now that you're done with high school that you appreciate more about wrestling?
I love that question. One thing I don't miss is I never really had to weight cut, but a weight cutting is one thing that I will not miss. But I just like giving back. Every now and then I'll go pop in and see what's going on. Get a little workout in with my old room, my old teammates. See, I mean, what I can do there. I just like to give back, and I want to give these kids the recognition that they deserve and the spotlight that they get for this short amount of time. I think it's like 7% that can go to the next level and participate in college sports, or it's some crazy number like that. I want to give these kids the short amount of time that they have to be on the spotlight, to be recognized, and deserve what they get for putting in all this hard work.
Are there any wrestlers that you didn't know too much about before, this year that because you're broadcasting, because you're running social media, have really just, come to the limelight for you?
A lot. Yeah. I mean, Canfield kids, Tyler Scher. I kind of knew about him, but I saw him actually wrestle this year. It was really good. Marky Stankorb from Fitch, really turned it on this year. Who else? Trying to think of names. Put me on the spot here. Brayton Feaster from Hoban, and he's a freshman, but I mean he's an animal. He's a 215 animal, to say the least. Trying to think of guys. There's just so many guys in our area. Northeast Ohio is the best part in the state of Ohio for wrestling. It's where some dogs are at.
By the way, not only can you find the countdown on YSN's wrestling social media account, but you'll also find all the 100 career wins that we get, milestone wins that we get reported to us. I think the last one came out of Canfield, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Tyler Scher,
Yep.
getting his 100th career win, and if you have your 100th career win and you want it highlighted, make sure to get us the photo. We'll definitely put it up there on the YSN Wrestling Instagram page. We can't let you go, Chris. We can't let this episode go with you without an update on South Range, right? It's your home. It's your alma mater. What have you been seeing from the Raiders this year? How close have you been with that program this year too?
I've been following them pretty close. I mean, I'm gonna favor them a little bit. They're my guys. My head coach retired, but the guy filling in, Frank Giordano, he's an awesome guy, great coach. He's gonna have a lot of success for that program in this near future. He's got a lot of good guys on his staff: John Tomeno, Jeremy Welker, JTC Schultz, a lot of guys that are gonna be improving this program. Right now it's a rebuilding year. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to be tough. It's a rebuilding year for these guys, 100%, losing 4 really good seniors this last year. All were state qualifiers last year, if not that, the year before. They got Tyson C. Schultz, the sophomore, placed as a freshman at state. Caden Welker, unfortunately, had some injuries happen that I got to shout my guy out. He's a senior, Willie Richardson. He blew out his shoulder, is done for the season. This kid's worked so hard his whole career. His whole high school career, he's just worked so hard, and it sucks. Injuries suck, but there's a bigger part of life that God didn't want him to be in this position, to get hurt in a big match or something. But his season's coming to an end. He'll be recognized tomorrow night for senior night at South Range. Tyson, Caden, Johnny Tomeno is doing really good. He most improved wrestler on that South Range team. Eddie Stakowitz blew out his knee last year, couldn't wrestle, really turning it up this year. He's a sophomore, got 2 great years of that. Excited to see how he folds out. And Patrick Lally, he's taken over 215, a spot that I'm very familiar with, doing very well. The light bulb's one screwing away from turning on for him, and he'll be a state qualifier right around the corner. So, there's some youth in that program, and we got a lot of kids coming up into the middle school program next year. And then we have 3 really good athletes coming up from the 8th grade program to high school. So they're going to be a young team. They're going to hit some lumps. They're going to see some real men to wrestle, but they're going to be just fine in the years coming.
Tyson C. Schultz places as a freshman last year. What is his path this year to get right back to that in his sophomore season?
Yeah, that was my buddy all year. That was my best friend all last year. We stayed in when we were at districts. We stayed in the hotel room together, state room together. I mean, he's one of my best friends till this day. We keep in touch, talk to him all the time. He's doing really well. His path to making it to state, it's up to him, and he's got that dog in him. He's got that willpower. He's got that strength. He's one of the best, if not the smartest wrestler I've ever been around. He always seems like he's in bad position, but he's never not. Even when I drill with him and roll around with him in the off season, it feels like I'm in good position, but I'm not. He's that one step ahead. He's in chess, you say you got to be 3 moves ahead. He's 4 moves ahead. He's a legit wrestler. His path, it's going to be up to him. How bad do you want it? And I know he wants it really bad to be on top of that podium as a sophomore. Battling a little bit of an injury, but it's all cleared up for him. Held him out of EOWL and some other tournaments. I know he wanted to be a 4-time EOWL champ when there's only I don't know the exact number, Gary may know, but there's a handful of 4-time EOWL champs. Won it as a freshman. Couldn't wrestle it this year. But, you don't win state championships in January. You win them in March.
That's exactly right. I love that mentality, my man. Man, the Raiders would love to put a placer on state in a rebuilding year,
Yep.
Rebuilding year. We still have state placers, and not a lot of programs can say that in a rebuilding year.
Yep.
Chris, thank you so much for hopping
guys.
on with us. Wrestling Wednesday, episode 11. It's fun. You're always welcome every week. You want to pop on. We'll definitely have you.
Yes, thank you.
Continue grinding, and we'll see you on the call soon.
Yes, thank you guys.
When is your next broadcast? Let's shout that out. Do you know?
Hey, honestly, we may be done for the year because I don't think because sectionals are next week, right, Gary? Next weekend,
24th, a week from Saturday.
Yeah. And I don't think we're doing sectionals districts. None of the sectionals districts. I think we're wrapped up. To be honest with you,
we should get you there, and then you can be like a social media director.
Yeah.
Districts and
Yeah, I'll be at sectionals districts. Where I'll be following South Range.
Yeah,
wherever they're at. But there's a bombs page where I'll be following that, and I can give reports out and X, Y, and Z, the whole 9 yards, and who's qualified for what. And definitely I'll get down at state and get some pictures and get some interviews with some guys.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely bring you on again before all that.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll be able to preview all that.
Season's just starting.
Yeah, let's go. This is the final stretch. Chris, thank you so much for hopping on with us today. We'll see you real soon.
Yep, see you guys.
Man, love having him on. That is wrestling knowledge at its peak. When you have Gary and Chris both in the same show. Gary, Chris has been a guy that has been able to highlight a lot of wrestling this year and take the broadcast up a tick. What does that mean to you to see, a guy like that, he just got done with his wrestling career in high school, be able to step up in the way he has for the wrestling community?
Hey, it's great. It's amazing. It's what we need in the sport. We need the coverage. We need somebody like Chris who's passionate about the sport. He lived it. He knows what goes into it. He knows what it does for you as a human being, how it matures you as a person. And that doesn't leave you. And in him being so close to his high school career, he just graduated. That fire's still burning in him. And he's just transferred that from the mat now to the broadcast and to the relationships he's building with the community. It's great. I'm super glad about it. If I ever decide to retire from coaching, I'm going to be right alongside him.
Well, hopefully, I like you as a coach. Let's keep coaching for a while. But obviously, if you do decide to hang it up, you're more than welcome to hop on the airways with wrestling. You already do a great job covering Wellsville basketball for us, of course. You had Wellsville last night, too, as well. Tough loss for them in a non-conference matchup with a team that traveled, quite a bit to get there, right?
No, Steubenville's not that far. It seems like it is. It's only about 20 minutes down the road, 25 minutes most. They're in Jefferson County. They're right in the city there in Steubenville. It's a Catholic school. They were a big athletic team that had a couple shooters. One guy's pulling up from the volleyball line. The second game in a row with a team from down the river like that, where they've got their own version of Steph Curry, just draining things from wherever they want to. It's tough to compete with that when you've also got 2 6'3s and a 6'6" down low. So
Hey,
the
you want to
Tigers,
come up and guard me?
yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you go to him, then you're leaving the big guys open down low. They did what they could. They're playing a little bit shorthanded right now, and it, it's getting them ready for the postseason though. And they do get to host a sectional game on the 27th. Western Reserve comes to Wellsville for sectionals.
And they have Tyrell Watkins, and sometimes with Wellsville, that's all you need.
Yeah, but he's just been getting in a lot of foul trouble, and so he hasn't been able to put in the minutes that he needs to put in. And to battle with those big guys down low without him, it's tough. So Coach Scott's been coaching his butt off. They've had a good season. They've won some close games. They've lost some close games. They've played some good opponents. Lisbon twice, Columbiana twice, Weird Madonna, Steubenville Catholic Central, Trinity Christian way down in Morgantown, West Virginia. I mean, they really played some good competition. It's just this is a really good year for small school basketball in the area, and they've got a bunch of guys that have never played varsity before on that team that are stepping up. And heck, one of the starters, the second or third leading scorer, hasn't ever played high school basketball. So I think Coach Stott's doing a great job, and the boys are out there battling as much as they can.
And if you have to take some lessons to get postseason success, every coach will take that in a nutshell. We're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, we'll have more Hoops talk. We'll recap the night from last night, and then we'll, of course, preview what's going on tonight on the network as well. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on Running Point, brought to you, as always, by our good friends over at Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
21 News delivers the news as it happens, using the latest technology from where it happens. On air, online,
Wednesday afternoon weather update.
Very dangerous.
and on the 21 News social media platforms.
I'm on the road right now.
21 News, the Valley's only locally owned source for trusted news since 1953.
Craftsmanship to us is 60 years of pride and dedication.
Passed down from generation to generation.
The hardwood floors that your kids take their first steps on.
The solid wood doors you quietly close at night.
The things we create day in and day out are the products that end up turning your house into a home.
At Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods, uncompromising quality and craftsmanship built our business.
And it will keep us moving forward for generations to come.
Going the extra mile at Greenwood Chevrolet means we want to take care of the community that takes care of us too.
And we have to work together always. And that's how you stay in business for 40 years.
You know, I love being a helper because when I help somebody, it makes me feel good.
It means a lot that I can make a difference in others' lives.
So I will do everything I can and just being there for them every step of the way.
I want them to know within the first 5 minutes that they could depend on me. That's what going the extra mile means, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Before the lights come on, before the workday begins, before a long day is ended, or it's time to have fun. It all starts with the people at Joe Dickey Electric. From replacing a light fixture in your home to building a substation for your business, no job is too big or too small. The people of Joe Dickey Electric power them all. Joe Dickey Electric, over 60 years of powering the Mahoning Valley.
And welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by our good friends that you heard from in that commercial break, Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. They go the extra mile for you, so you don't have to. We try to do the same here on this show every single day. Wrestling Wednesday, just one of the ways we do it. It was a great episode. Chris Colucci coming on, the voice of our broadcast, and also the man behind the Ysn Wrestling Instagram account, where you can find a countdown to state and also interviews along with updates on the 100-win milestones that we have across the Ysn family. Make sure to give that account a follow. We had plenty of basketball go on the network last night. Let's dive into the scoreboard on ysnlive.com and talk about some of the stuff that went down. We talked a little bit about Wellsville. That was just one of many games on the Ysn scoreboard, which is presented by Burnett Pools, Spas, and Hot Tubs. We look at LeBray going into Cortland and getting another win. The Vikings having a very impressive season, 75-48, the final score there. Salem and Beaver Local doing battle as Beaver Local fends off the visiting Quakers. And they get their 10th win of the year. This is the end of the regular season for Beaver Local, a very early end for a boys team. They've filled out their schedule early. They have off until the 27th of February. That's a long time to wait before their first tournament game. So Beaver Local will have to see how they handle that time off as they win over Salem 61-50 to get the 10 wins on the regular season. Ashley Beulah St. John and Conneaut doing battle in the 4-4-0, and it's Conneaut getting the win 79-65. That is a good offensive performance, one of the best offensive performances we've seen all year from the Spartans. So that's good to see them getting on track. Badger goes into Poland, gets a narrow victory, 62-60, spoiling the Bulldogs senior night. And that defense is tough to score 62 points on. So impressive win for Badger on the road there. Buckeye Local goes to Edison, gets the win over the Wildcats, 65-50. Valley Christian at home against Crestview in non-conference play, 66-40, big win for the Eagles. Struthers gets beat up by Youngstown East at home, 71-39, tough one for the Wildcats, but that Bears team, very under the radar. A lot of good things coming out of Youngstown East this season on the basketball court. Edgewood, another one-possession game for the Warriors as they beat Fairport Harding 43-40. The Warriors are making a killing in one-possession games this year. Jefferson, not one possession. They won handedly over Grand Valley 70-34. Final score. Columbiana, they protect their home court against the Blue Jays. I know that bird is known for attacking other birds' nests and getting them out of there, but Columbiana said no. 56-36, Clippers get the win over Jackson Milton. Heartland Christian all over Latonia last night at home, 71-30. East Palestine gets a big win over Lordstown, 76-35. Final score there. Newton Falls able to handle Niles as they win 61-41. The Tigers with a non-conference victory there. Lisbon, another big win for them, 63-43 over Oak Glen as they test themselves outside of the EOAC. They still have their last matchup with Columbiana coming up. I think that is next week, so that'll actually decide the EOAC as long as Columbiana takes care of business the rest of the way before that. Waterloo, they handle Rootstown at home, 50-40, final score there. Vikings take care of a Portage County foe. Garfield not so lucky with another Portage County team as Southeast comes into Garrettsville and gets to win 79-57. Springfield finds a way to survive an upset bid from Girard, 55-52, the final score there. The Tigers get the win on the road. Wellsville falls to Steubenville Central Catholic, 54-35. Brookfield gets the win over the Urban Scholars, 60-21. South Range goes on the road at Lowville and wins 66-53. Landon Moore, senior for South Range, gets his 1,000th career point on the night, so congratulations to him and the Raiders for a big victory over Lowville. The Raiders have their senior day on Saturday as they host Struthers in the Thriller Dome. Campbell Memorial goes to Warren JFK. It's a big test for the Red Devils to play one of the premier teams out of Division IV and a Warren JFK team that really just needed to win, and they get it 87-55. Final score, Warren JFK's offense all over the court. Ursuline able to get a win over the reigning state champions in Division I as they win 55-52 over Hoban. That's a big defensive performance from Ursuline to get that victory. Canfield, tough test on the road against Boardman. Spartans give them all they got, but it's 50-46. Cardinals win, and they get the AAC championship for the second year in a row. We go to Mooney as they were able to hold off Cheney, 47-39. That game is done. Mooney gets Coach Palermo his 100th career win. So congratulations to Coach Terry Palermo and the Cardinals as they beat Cheney by 8. Beaver, this game was actually held yesterday, but we put it on today. It's held Monday, but we put it on yesterday's scoreboard. Trinity gets to win 74-72. Shout out to Brady Mayo of Beaver for scoring his 1,000th career point in that game 2 nights ago. Chalker gets to win. Chalker falls, to Sebring, 65-40, the Trojans get the win on the road. McDonald also gets a win on the road as they travel to Maplewood and win 65-58. Hubbard edges Matthews in probably the closest game of the night, 62-61 over the Mustangs. Eagles with the victory. A couple of girls' games in action last night as we saw Howland in a makeup game against Austintown Fitch get their last win of the season, 63-43 over the Falcons. And Pymatuning Valley was able to fall to Maplewood 39-30. That must have been a boys-girls doubleheader with McDonald and Pymatuning Valley both in Maplewood. The Rockets get the win on the girls' side, 39-30. That does it for the scoreboard. Scotty, I always ask, what are some scores that really stuck out for you today?
I don't know if it was specifically like one score. I continue, and you mentioned this at the top. I continue to be really impressed with Youngstown East. When a team like that's really good that I feel like doesn't get maybe the buzz some other schools get. I call them like sneaky good. I am a little surprised because if you flip to last week's round of scores, they were all pretty much close games. Last night there was quite a few blowouts. So the teams that needed wins as we head towards playoff time really kind of playing well at a time when you really need it. But for the teams that lost, I mean, you don't get too discouraged. Great thing about hoops time in basketball is everyone makes the postseason, so it gives you time to just make adjustments and rebound, pun intended. So yeah, and I think too, Warren JFK once again. That's a score that not so much that they beat. I knew it was going to be really tough for Camel, but just how decisive they were in that. They are really impressing me right now.
Gary, I'm going to ask you an EOAC question because Lisbon and Columbiana both got non-conference wins last night, and they're going full steam ahead to their matchup next Friday with each other, which all things are pointing to that deciding the conference. Columbiana's 12-1 in the conference right now. Obviously, Lisbon undefeated. First time they played each other was a 2-point victory for Lisbon. You've seen them both against Wellsville. I mean, what can you expect out of that matchup next Friday on the 23rd between the Blue Devils and the Clippers?
Yeah, both really good teams. With Lisbon, they got one guy that just he's got such a smooth offensive game. He can really score from just about anywhere. He plays so well with the ball in his hands that when he gets hot, I think they could beat just about anybody around their own size. With Columbiana, big, fast, and athletic, you can score with Columbiana, but then they're coming right back at you, and seeing how quick they can score sometimes, and they're big and athletic. I think it's a great matchup. Hopefully it'll be another 2-point game. And, but with Lisbon with the win, I guess they would tie if Columbiana comes out with the win. So I guess the Columbiana's playing for the tie and Lisbon's playing for the outright win. But I'm just, I'm basketball. The extent of my basketball knowledge is who I've seen play Wellsville and what I've seen on the scoreboards. But is it me, or are there a lot of teams in that Division IV, even the smaller Division III schools, where there's so many teams bunched up and kind of can beat each other? Because I'm looking at some of these scores. Lisbon loses to Heartland Christian, and Heartland Christian's, that's a tough team. They beat Salem this year. They lose to St. Thomas Aquinas, who also beat Steubenville Catholic Central. But Aquinas has a losing record. I don't understand basketball. Nothing makes sense. Every time I think, wow, okay, this must be a really good team, I go and look, and they've lost to 3 other teams. There's a bunch of teams with 5 or 6 losses. It looks like you can kind of just put them all in a hat and pull out a name, and that's who's going to win on a given day.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is that Warren JFK also in Division 4,
Yeah, that's another one. Yeah.
And they play a schedule that makes you like think they're a Division 2 team with the teams that go and play, but people forget that they do go into the Division 4 bracket, and that's going to be a team that teams like Lisbon, Columbiana, Heartland, they're all going to have to eventually go through Warren JFK if they want to make a deep tournament run.
Isn't that Lake Center Christian another one?
Yep,
Are they
and they
Division
beat
4?
Warren JFK last week. So
there's another one, and they've got like 6 losses. I don't know, man. Basketball just seems kind of crazy right now in Ohio, in our area, especially in those divisions. It just seems like a hodgepodge of a bunch of really athletic, talented teams, and whoever is hot that night, it just looks like they're going to win.
McDonald, another small team that is starting to look really, really good. They went to Springfield and got a victory not too long ago. Coach Francis Shelley always does a good job with the Blue Devils. And then you got Springfield. I think they're either a small Division 3 or upper Division 4. They're in there. Lowville, who, I'm going to give Scotty's Rockets a little bit of love because they had a tough start to the season. But once they found their identity, they started to win a lot of games. They went to Springfield and got a win not too long ago as well. But Springfield still won the conference. So you have 2 teams there, McDonald and Lowville, that both have wins over the conference champion. That can't be ignored either. So, yeah, that Division 4 in boys basketball is just a gauntlet. It's kind of like Division 3 in girls.
Yeah, it seems like it. It seems like there isn't a runaway best team. So correct me if I'm wrong. The district seeded based on the Max Preps rankings,
right? Max Preps RPI, which is like opponents wins and then opponents wins. But it does not take into a factor like the college RPI does, or would, the size of your opponent. So like if Warren JFK goes and beats, they beat Hoban this year, they don't get a boost for beating the Division 1 team.
That
like you
seems
see in
crazy.
Football. I know.
Doesn't that seem a little crazy? I mean, if you're a let's say you're a Division 4 public school, okay, you can leave the private school argument out of it.
Right.
You're a public school and you're playing with your own kids, but you're beating a bunch of Division 2 and 1 teams, and you go 12-10, and somebody else is playing the smallest public schools in the state of Ohio and goes 15-5. I guess with their opponents' records would come into effect, but a 500 Division 1 team is going to be better than a 15-7 Division 4 team.
Not all 6-win teams, not all 6-win teams are, I'm talking like the bad teams of Division 1 and 4. They're not all equal. Not all 15-win teams are equal either. We saw Minerva, who is a 6-win girls team in Division 2, come down to Lisbon, who was also a 6-win girls team, but Minerva was just clearly the better team because of the schedule they play and the type of basketball they're exposed to night in and night out. So that kind of proved, not all 6-win or not all, equal record teams are equal. And it sucks, but it could go both ways because I know if they counted division bonus, there would be teams that were Division 4 going and playing not good Division 1 teams just for the Division 1 bonus,
But even the I would think,
let's go play 2-win Akron North because we can handle them and we'll get a division bonus for that.
Yeah, true. I would still think there would be a better chance of Akron North being good or catching the smaller teams.
Right.
Thank God, Woodshop isn't counted the same as AP Calc in high school, because there isn't, all grades are not created equal. That's all the kind of things that go through my mind. I don't know what they went through to decide this RPI for Max Preps. I don't know what I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall to see the arguments as to why.
I think the argument was a sack of money put on the desk of the OHSAA.
Yeah, I mean, but to not include the size of the school, I mean, if you've only got, let's say you've only got 100 boys in your high school from 9 through 12, half of them don't play sports, and the other half you have to split between a couple of other sports, compared to a school that has 1,000 boys in it. That just seems crazy to me. I mean,
yeah, it's the first season that OHSA is not using coaching voting. They didn't use it for volleyball. The plan is, if this is a success, I think they want to use Max Preps for everything non-football. But this is kind of their testing year for basketball to see how it goes. So I guess we're just going to have to buckle up for the tournament and see how this whole thing shakes out. It has become the district, because of the RPI usage, has become even bigger now. So you get teams that you would never really see in your district, even last year with the super districts. Now with what I'm calling the supreme districts, you're getting teams that you wouldn't see until regionals. For girls basketball, for example, we have YSN teams that are going to have to go through a team like Waynedale just to win a district, and that would not be a team that you would see until regionals in Division III, even last year with the super district. So it's gotten kind of crazy here in basketball. We're going to have to see how it goes in the OHSA, and I know their plan is to start using it for every non-football sport.
Do they take this margin of victory into account?
I think it's opponents wins and then the opponents wins.
So
and
it's
then,
just wins and losses, and basically that's it. Wow.
Yeah.
So there's no incentive to blow a team out either.
Yeah.
Huh.
No, I
That's
don't think
crazy.
so. I don't think so. It's wild. It's the wild, wild west down there in basketball. And I know Martin RPI, if you follow them on socials, they were lined up to be the channel that does this, and they do a much more in-depth job of their RPI standings. Much more reflective of RPI that the actual RPI that colleges use to rank their teams. But Max Preps just had a better offer for the OHSA.
So does that Martin RPI, do they still run their rankings?
They have a boys basketball they're doing, but they said because of all the emotional and financial, that they dropped into trying to be the home of the OHSAA. I just don't think they have the resources to do both boys and girls this year. So you can find a lot of great boys basketball info if you go to Martin RPI and follow that. They also do football during the fall, but unfortunately, I know they were upset about it, but they just couldn't shake doing both boys and girls this year.
Yeah, understandable. So who is the number one rated team from Max Preps in the YSN family?
We just put that out last week. I have to go look because I don't remember. I think it's Hoban.
Hoban, that's what I was going to guess. Yeah,
I think it's Hoban on the girls' side. Boys is being released this week. But yeah, I think when you look at RPIs, and obviously for YSN, we have to also put them all in the same pile instead of dividing them in divisions. So I think Hoban has the highest RPI in the YSN family. You can find that officially on the YSN website when our power rankings released a little bit earlier on this week. Scotty, we have a little bit of time, like we always try to give you every week. Now that we've recapped the night from last night, what is on your mind today, my boy?
Yeah. So I just wanted to know today I know we only got a couple minutes, but just to kind of put a bow on things here, I just wanted to know from you guys, as fans of sports, and Anthony, you're the girls sports guru. Gary, you're the wrestling guru. So I just wanted to know for you guys, what's the toughest part when either, if Gary, for you it would be coaching, or Anthony as a fan supporter of a team or certain athletes, what's the toughest part for you about just like watching as a fan? Is it just the injury aspect of it? Is it all the variables, just the unpredictability of sports? Is it always just as simple as, my team lost, or is it does it usually go a lot deeper than that?
Well, as a fan, I think the hardest thing is you have no control. Like you have zero. You're just sitting there. That's why all the coaches and players always say, "Well, it's harder to watch because at least we have control of what's going on to put our players in the right position to win." Or the players can say, "We can go out and execute." But as a fan, you're just sitting there like, "Go." I hope we win because I got nothing. I can't do anything about it. I can't blow a gust of wind all of a sudden and make my team win. There's nothing you can do. And that's kind of the fun of being a fan because it's so unpredictable, but it's also, it's so nerve wracking when you have no control over anything. And I'm sure Gary, transitioning from coaching wrestling where you have a little bit of control. You try to put your guys in the right position. You try to coach them up. I know, they have to go out and execute, but at the end of the day, you have a little bit of control. But then when you transition into just being a fan of a team and rooting, that's hard because you go from having a little bit of control to having none.
Yeah, it's extremely hard. And I had to take a step back from being a fan of the 49ers about so when they got rid of Jim Harbaugh, it would have been about 2015 or so, because I got too worked up. I'm just being honest. I used to get so worked up about it, and I just had to take a look at myself like, look, I need to treat this like a movie where it's a couple of hours of entertainment, and then not getting upset about it afterwards or whatever. It's fun to watch, but it's so frustrating that if you let it bother you, what are you going to do about it? That as being a fan, that is the most frustrating thing, is you see something and you're saying to yourself, why in the world are they doing X, Y, or Z? Well, as a coach, I know things happen during the week. I know things go on at practice that we don't see. And there are almost always logical, reasonable explanations why something's done. But as a fan, you don't know that. That's probably the most frustrating thing, is you don't know why a coach decides to do one thing over another. And they might have a perfectly reasonable explanation, but they're not going to tell you or the media that, because they don't want the scrutiny about it. But as a coach, the most frustrating thing is the things that you see and the things that you that your player or your wrestler or whatever could accomplish or could do if they just had a different mindset or a different perspective, and trying to tap into that. Welcome to coaching. That's the biggest and hardest thing to do, is trying to reach each kid individually right where they need to be reached, getting them to believe in themselves, tapping into whatever it is that they need to get over that hump. Every single kid is a human being and unique. So trying to do that with each kid is really difficult. There aren't enough hours in the day when you have to do a million other things that don't even have to do with the sport, outside of the sport. Things helping them with things at their schoolwork. If they've got things going on at home, you're not only coach, but sometimes you're a mentor. There's not enough hours in the day. So just not being able to do everything for everyone and be all things to all people, that's the most frustrating thing, because as a coach, that's what you really want to do.
As a fan, it's so easy to accidentally or to fall into the trap of thinking you know more than the guy that's coaching and the guy that's been there, in the league for years and years and is paying a lot of money to be in that situation. But in the heat of the moment, you're sitting there like, why aren't we doing this? And it's like, well, I've been with my team all week. I've game planned for this game, for the last 2 weeks. I know what I'm doing here. I'm not just the Joe Schmo off the street.
Yeah, reminds me of one time when I was coaching. I was coaching a kid in the finals. He was in the finals for first and second, and he was up by a point, but he had a really, really sore neck, and it was so sore that he kind of, I was questioning whether even let him wrestle in the finals. It was the third period, and it was our choice. The kid had already taken us down once, so I didn't want to go neutral, and I didn't want to go bottom because I didn't want his neck cranked on. So I picked the top position, which he was pretty good from. He just needed to ride the kid out. And I had coaches from other teams yelling at me like, what are you doing? Put him on bottom. You're up one. Put him on bottom. These guys didn't know that my kid had a really bad sore neck. And if he started getting cranked on, he was going to get turned and pinned. So I couldn't say that in the middle of the match. And those guys couldn't know that, but I did what was best for my kid in the situation. And I always think about that when I start to criticize a coach about something. Hey, you don't know what's going on. You don't know the full perspective of why they're doing what they're doing.
Scotty, we got to turn that question on you, my man. You're a big fan.
Yeah.
What's the hardest part for you?
I mean, the hardest part for me, because the easiest one is obviously saying you don't have the control and you can go out there and say football, for example, run all the plays you would like to see them run all the times. And sometimes you think it's a dumb call, but sometimes I guess the hardest thing for me as it's come over the years is kind of when a season's over and your team was really successful, but they don't quite win the championship. The hardest thing for me is waiting until that next year. Like with the Guardians in '97 when I was just 8 years old, 9 years old, and then in 2016, like waiting after those years to see if they could get back to the series and win it. Like that's the toughest part for me when your team is one of the best, but they don't get over the top. Is waiting all that time, but yeah, that would be the toughest thing for me. But
let me tell you, Scotty, even when they win, there's that like 2 or 3 weeks after where you're like, now we're not, like there's nothing to do anymore. It's a hard lull when you're like, hey, I want next season to be here, but it's like, hey, it doesn't start until September. So until September, just kind of sit there and
you
anticipate.
guys, I mean, you're both right because you're the winner, and Gary, your guys another crushing defeat, as you know. But the thing is, they both should be series contenders right up there again next year. So we'll see how it goes.
We'll see. Scotty, it's great insight. Thank you all so much for tuning in to Running Point today. It's been a great show. Chris Colucci gave us his time, was a guest on Wrestling Wednesday, episode 11. We want to thank our comments section. We thank you so much for tuning in, man. And the kind words really go far. But thank everyone for tuning in. Thank Chris Colucci for his time. Thank you guys for your time. All the games tonight can be found at ysnlive.com/live. Make sure to check them out. It's a Wednesday night, mostly girls basketball. And we'll be back tomorrow from 1 to 2 to recap it all. Wrestling Wednesday, we'll be back next week for episode 12. Until then, we will see you again